What's up, y'all? Let me get you guys up to date on what's been going on with the van. Been chasing a check engine light code for EGR, so I went and replaced the solenoid and also the EGR valve itself. Now we got a nice shiny EGR in there with all the hoses all hooked up. No more check engine light and we are good to go. Also finally got around to replacing the blower motor. It stopped working about a year ago, and even though the AC would still turn on, the compressor would still work, the fan wouldn't actually blow. So put a new blower motor in there, and now that blower actually works. Also did the blower motor resistor, since that was a good time to replace it. And had to double check and make sure all the wires that were going to the blower motor were all nice and secure, because sometimes it would turn on and off even with the new resistor on there, and that worked. Another thing I've been wanting to do for as long as I've had the van is get rid of the rear AC heater box. So I started to work on that a little bit by deleting a bunch of the hoses that go to the back of it. In the process, I did have to take out all the refrigerant and the AC system, so I'll still have to figure out how to fix all that. But man, it's a lot better without the box back there. You all want to see a dead body? What's up, guys? It's your boy out here, Boom Boom Tisk. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are under my van. And the reason why we're under my van is because we need to take a couple of measurements. So we're gonna try to see what we can do about correcting some of this angle here. Now, since the van's been lowered with the Western chassis axle flip, we have also thrown out effectively the whole driveline while doing that. And so we are going to try to figure out a way to correct all that. Now, to do that, we gotta take some measurements. Our first measurement point is going to be from this side right here, the output side of the transmission. We're going to go along and do a drive shaft measurement, and then we're going to measure that rear end over there. Not that rear end, but you know, that rear end. So yeah, I'm going to be using the Tremic app on my phone. Unfortunately, I don't have another camera to record me using the app, but I'll probably put some screenshots of what I get and that kind of a thing on there, and so you can follow along and see what I'm using. The van is racked up. We got the rear axle supported on some jack stands to try to get it close to static height. We're gonna measure the angle, the total angle between the front and the rear, and then hopefully we could correct all that, and then we can be back on the road going places with this thing. So yeah, here we go. Speaking of bad angles, not flattering at all. The instructions on the app are pretty straightforward to follow. You take your first measurement. A lot of people will take this measurement off of the crank, but I did this off of the transmission. The drive shaft itself, you can find plenty of flat area to position the phone. And also the rear end, that one gets a little tricky, but I tried my best to get a somewhat accurate measurement. I don't expect it to be perfect, but I'm also kind of eyeballing it too, and it's just so obvious that it's off. So anything's got to be better than what we got going on here. We've also had some clearance issues with the drive shaft, so hopefully correcting the rear end angle will help with that. I was only planning on taking measurements today, but this ended up turning into more of a job than I thought it would be. Luckily, our friend Sean was in the area, was able to stop by, help me tear this thing all apart. This is the guy that you call when you don't know how to fix something, and the answer is always, if you don't know how to do it, Sean does. So we are back under the van again, and we have made a couple of adjustments with the help of our friend Sean, and this is what we got so far. So we put a new bushing inside of here to try to get rid of some of the play that we had going on at the drive shaft, but even more importantly than that, we've corrected a really good amount of that extra angle. So let me take some measurements here and see what we got now. Yep, that looks way better. So that's definitely promising. Now the green paint is on there to check to see if we hit at all, or if we hit in between here. Yep. Really nice. We rotated the rear end by loosening the U-bolts and repositioning the plate under the leaf spring. Also take note of where the bolt is and what hole you can see it in. That used to be in the hole in the front there. To make it easier to pivot the axle, we removed the bolts that kept the air shocks in place. We ended up having to replace this bent one in the process. Okie dokes. Fast forward, we have gotten all the bolts tightened down, topped off the rear end, put more fluid in there, and we changed the seals for the speed sensor and the transmission output seal. And we re-angled the drive shaft a little bit better. So the rear end's now pointing a little bit more down, got a little bit more of a straight angle on the rear end. How many times can I say rear end in a video? What's left to do is just drive it around the block and then double check the transmission fluid level, make sure it's all topped off. Alright, y'all. Taking it for a spin around the block. And so far, so good. Sounds like everything is good. Oh yeah. Much better. Alright, we made it around the block. Everything's all intact. Drive shaft is still on. Hasn't fallen out, which is good. Drive shaft on the floor. Like it should be like up there. And that last thing left to do is just check the transmission fluid level. And that should be good. Well guys, that is pretty much it as far as the work we have done to this van today. So just the recap of what we did. We changed the output seal again on the transmission because it was leaking. We changed the bearing in there as well because there was some play in the drive shaft. The two different size O-rings, so we did those. And we also re-angled the drive shaft. So we actually were able to pivot the rear end a little bit more downward. But besides that, there are a couple other updates as well too with the van that I haven't really caught you guys up with. We got a steering wheel, which is pretty cool. So yep, that's it right there. Shout outs to Martin's Van Yard Goodies. We also did a FLOWMASTER exhaust with the turn down right before the rear axle. So that sounds way better, and I'll try to get you guys some sound clips of that as well. There's just been so much stuff that we've done with this van. Just always something that I'm working on whenever I have time, and it's just usually pretty busy, so it's hard for me to kind of put it all in the video, and there's just a lot going on. But yeah, the van's pretty much at a good point right now. Everything's been fixed. We had to plug heater hoses because the heater core started leaking. So that was another thing too. Damn it, I put all my shit over here already too. The van took its first long road trip to San Francisco, which was pretty much a smooth trip other than the whole running over something on the freeway and puncturing a hole in the gas tank and the fuel leaking everywhere part. Open up the other JB-Weld.
And that way it just air dries better?
Yep, left. Yeah, it was great. We made it up there, just enjoyed the van up there, drove it around the city a little bit and caught some views, just kind of enjoyed the rest of the trip after that point. We basically had to patch the crap out of the gas tank with all the JB-Weld we could find at the local gas stations, and kind of just hoping the best. But since that trip, I came back and did the fuel tank. So we put a new fuel tank in there, put a new fuel pump in there, and also replaced all the little miscellaneous lines that I could. So now we are all squared away and golden there, and the fuel tank looks nice and new for now. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyways, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Yeah, peace out.